What's up everyone and welcome back to MMA Buzz. Charles Oliveira is preparing to step back into the octagon at UFC Rio this weekend, where he'll face Mateusz Gamrot in a highly anticipated bout. Ahead of the fight, Oliveira took a moment to reflect on one of the toughest moments of his career, his recent knockout loss to Ilia Topuria. Speaking with ESPN, Oliveira opened up about how that defeat affected him both emotionally and mentally. "My last fight was against Ilia Topuria, a very tough guy with heavy hands who's been knocking everyone out," Oliveira said. "Unfortunately, the result wasn't what we wanted. I had never been knocked out before, so imagine how I felt knowing I had a chance to become champion again, and it slipped away." The Brazilian former champion described the emotional aftermath that followed the loss. "It wasn't just me or my family crying," he admitted. "It felt like thousands of people around the world were hurting with me. Of course, the first and second day were hard. I was sad. I kept my head down, replaying everything in my mind." However, Oliveira explained that he found strength in his upbringing and the lessons his father instilled in him early on. "The most important thing in all of this comes from how I was raised," he continued. "Every time I fought, whether I won or lost, my dad would always say the same thing: come home and let's rededicate ourselves. That's what I've always done." Oliveira emphasized that the loss to Topuria, while painful, has only fueled his motivation to come back stronger. "Losses teach you things victories never can," he reflected. "You either let them define you or drive you. For me, it's about moving forward, learning, and proving to everyone, especially myself, that I still belong at the top." Now, as Oliveira gears up to face Gamrot, his focus is entirely on redemption. "I've accepted what happened," he said, "but I'm not done. I'm ready to show once again who I am and what I can do." The Brazilian fan favorite's words show not just humility, but the heart of a fighter who refuses to give up no matter the setback. As he prepares for UFC Rio, Oliveira remains determined to climb back to the top and reclaim his place among the elite in the lightweight division. Before moving on to the next news, we have a quick request for you. We're always working to improve our content and truly value your support. If you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Move on to another news. Dustin Poirier has voiced his concern about Charles Oliveira returning to the octagon too soon after suffering a devastating knockout loss to Ilia Topuria this past June. With Oliveira set to face Mateusz Gamrot at UFC Rio this weekend, Poirier believes the timing may not be ideal, and that it could put the former champion in serious danger. Speaking to MMA Junkie, Poirier, who trains with Gamrot at American Top Team, explained why he feels the quick turnaround might backfire for Oliveira. "That was a pretty devastating knockout," Poirier said. "Anytime someone gets put out like that, I definitely don't recommend turning around as quickly as possible. You've got to take some time off, let your body and mind recover, regroup, and allow things to heal." He drew comparisons to other fighters who have suffered similar fates. "We saw it with Alexander Volkanovski, and we've seen it time and time again," Poirier continued. "Coming back too soon after a knockout is risky, not just physically but mentally. You need proper recovery to be at your best." When discussing Gamrot's chances against Oliveira, Poirier made it clear that the Polish contender shouldn't be underestimated. "Gamrot has knocked people out in the UFC before with 4-ounce gloves," he said. "Even though people don't think of him as a one-punch knockout artist, everyone is dangerous in those small gloves. It's a dangerous fight for Charles, especially if he can't get the takedown." Poirier went on to analyze how Gamrot's improving boxing could play a major role in the fight. "Gamrot's striking has improved a lot over the past 2 years," he noted. "He's going to surprise a lot of people. When you fight Charles, you can't go straight forward or straight back." According to Poirier, Gamrot's wrestling could be the key to dictating where the fight takes place. "With his grappling experience, Gamrot can pick where the fight goes," he said. "If he wants to stand, he can. If he wants to go to the ground, he's capable there too. And if Charles tries to take him down, I think Gamrot will pass that test. His takedown defense, scrambling, and control are top tier, whether it's against the fence or an open space." Move on to another news. Former UFC bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw recently shared his thoughts on why he wants to see a rematch between Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov, two of the most dominant grapplers in the division. The two previously fought earlier this year, where Merab secured a unanimous decision victory after an intense, high-paced battle. However, Dillashaw believes the matchup still has unfinished business and could reveal new layers of both fighters' skills. In a recent interview, Dillashaw explained that Umar's approach in their first encounter impressed him and made the fight unique compared to most of Merab's past bouts. "You have to shoot on him as well," Dillashaw said. "That's a mistake a lot of guys make. They're too hesitant to engage in grappling exchanges with Merab. But Umar did, and that's why I want to see them fight again. Someone needs to take Merab down and hold him there, just to see how good his bottom game really is." Dillashaw went on to discuss what makes Devilish fighting style so entertaining, despite his heavy reliance on wrestling. "Usually when you watch a wrestling or grappling heavy fighter, people start calling it boring, he said. But not with Merab. He somehow makes it exciting. Even though all his doing is taking you down repeatedly, he does it with such relentless energy that you can't look away. According to Della, it's not just Merab's wrestling that stands out. It's his pace and work ethic. He fights hard from the first second to the last, he added. He's never stalling, never just laying and praying. Every moment of the fight, he's working, pushing, grinding. That's what makes him special and why people actually enjoy watching him, even though he's not out there throwing wild punches or going for flashy knockouts. Della believes that Umar Nurmagomedov, with his own elite grappling and dynamic striking, is one of the few fighters who could truly test Merab in every area. Umar has the wrestling pedigree and submission game to make Merab uncomfortable, Della said. Their first fight was competitive, but a rematch could show us how much both have evolved. I think Umar would make the necessary adjustments, and Merab would come even stronger. It would be another war. For Della, the potential rematch represents more than just another fight. It's a clash between two relentless grapplers at the peak of their craft. Move on to another news. Corey Sandhagen has broken his silence following his recent loss to Merab Dvalishvili, reflecting on the fight with honesty and optimism. Despite falling short, Sandhagen remains fully confident that his journey to UFC gold is far from over. In a heartfelt message to his fans, Sandhagen expressed gratitude and determination. What's up, guys? I just wanted to take a moment to thank everyone who's been supporting me, the people in my life who mean the most, and everyone who's helped me get to this point, he began. I rewatched the fight last night because, honestly, I couldn't sleep, and looking back, that was an absolutely winnable fight. I just can't afford to almost get knocked out in the second round. He took the time to give credit to his opponent as well, showing respect despite the loss. Congrats to Merab for almost doing what he said he was going to do, but not quite, Sandhagen said with a slight smile. He's a great representative for the division, and I'm proud of him. He fights hard and he's earned his spot, but I still believe in myself 100%. I know I have what it takes to be champion. For Sandhagen, self-belief remains a crucial part of his mindset, even in defeat. Believing in yourself is part of the job, he continued. This sport will test you in every possible way, physically, mentally, emotionally, but that belief has to stay constant. I'll never stop thinking that I'm going to touch gold one day. The defeat to Dvalishvili was a tough setback for Sandhagen, who has long been regarded as one of the most skilled and creative strikers in the bantamweight division. Yet, his words reveal a fighter who refuses to dwell on the past and instead uses every experience as motivation to improve. Every fight teaches you something, he said. I'll take what I learned from this one and come back sharper. This loss doesn't define me. It fuels me. As he wrapped up his message, Sandhagen thanked his fans once again and promised to return stronger. Peace. I love you guys. I'll see you soon, he said with a calm smile. For many fighters, a loss like this could break confidence, but not for Corey Sandhagen. His mindset remains focused, his goals unchanged. The belief that he will one day become UFC champion still burns brightly, and judging by his attitude, he's far from done chasing that dream. Move on to another news. Nate Diaz has never been one to follow the crowd, and his latest comments about his fighting career prove it once again. Despite his legendary rivalry with Conor McGregor, one that produced two of the most iconic fights in UFC history, Diaz says he doesn't consider McGregor his biggest or most important opponent. Instead, he points to his 2011 fight against Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone as the moment that truly defined his rise in the sport. During a recent interview, Diaz explained that while fans often expect him to name McGregor when asked about his greatest fight, his answer is far more personal. People always ask me what my best fight was, and they expect me to say Conor McGregor, he said. But I tell them, relax. Conor was a huge fight, no doubt. It was massive for my career, and it changed everything. But if you look at the full timeline of my career, the fights that really mattered, the one with Cowboy stands out for me. Diaz went on to describe what made the Cerrone fight so special. Back in 2011, Cerrone was one of the UFC's fastest rising contenders, coming off a string of dominant performances after his move from the WEC. Diaz, meanwhile, was trying to re-establish himself as a legitimate contender in the lightweight division. When I fought Cowboy, that was like fighting someone who everyone thought was the next big thing, Diaz said. He was coming in hot, full of hype, and I remember thinking, alright, let's see what's up. I'd been around, I'd fought killers, and here was this new guy everyone was talking about. That fight meant something more to me. In that 2011 showdown at UFC 141, Diaz delivered one of the best performances of his career. Using his sharp boxing and relentless pace, he dominated Cerrone from start to finish, landing a record number of strikes and earning a unanimous decision victory. The fight showcased Diaz's signature toughness, precision, and defiance, traits that would later make him a fan favorite around the world. Reflecting on that night, Diaz said it marked a pivotal moment in his journey. That fight felt like a statement, he explained. It wasn't just about winning. It was about showing showing people who I was. That was the moment I felt like, yeah, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. While his rivalry with Conor McGregor undoubtedly brought him mainstream fame, Diaz views that era as just one chapter in a long career filled with defining moments. Move on to another news. Gilbert Burns recently shared his confident prediction ahead of UFC Rio, where Charles Oliveira is set to face Mateusz Gamrot. Burns believes that Oliveira will not only win but finish Gamrot inside the distance. According to him, Oliveira's striking power, elite jiu-jitsu, and overall fight IQ make him too dangerous for Gamrot to handle. Burns stated that although the fight could technically go to a decision, he doesn't see that happening. I think it's going to be a finish, he said firmly. Even if it somehow goes to the scorecards, Charles still has the edge. The easiest path for him is to defend the takedowns, keep the fight standing, and punish Gamrot on the feet, similar to what Beneil Dariush tried to do. But Charles is much more powerful. His hands are heavier, and his jiu-jitsu is on another level. When asked how he envisions Oliveira finishing the fight, Burns explained that both striking and submission scenarios are possible. It could go either way, he noted. If Charles hurts him standing, he can go for the ground and pound finish, or if Gamrot shoots desperately for a takedown, Charles might snatch his neck or lock something up in transition. Once Oliveira senses weakness, he capitalizes immediately. His teammate, Renato Moicano, agreed that Gamrot's chances of finishing Oliveira in a striking exchange are slim to none. Burns doubled down, laughing off the idea that Gamrot could knock Oliveira out. No way, bro. No chance. I'd call Charles right now and tell him you said that, he joked, showing his absolute confidence in Oliveira's durability and composure under pressure. Burns highlighted Oliveira's championship mindset and ability to recover quickly even when hurt, something that has defined his recent fights. Charles fights with purpose now. He's not just trying to win. He's trying to make a statement every time he steps in the cage, Burns added. As UFC Rio approaches, Burns remains adamant that fans will witness another vintage Oliveira performance, dangerous, creative, and relentless. Charles is just too well-rounded, Burns concluded. He's stronger, faster, and far more unpredictable. Whether it's a knockout or submission, he's going to finish Gamrot. There's no doubt in my mind. Move on to another news. Islam Makhachev appears fully committed to making his move to the welterweight division permanent after officially vacating his lightweight championship. The Russian superstar, widely regarded as one of the most technically dominant fighters in UFC history, is set to challenge Della Maddalena for the 170-pound title next month at UFC 322, taking place at Madison Square Garden. Even before the fight was confirmed, Makhachev openly discussed his concerns about moving up in weight, acknowledging the physical and strategic adjustments required to compete at welterweight. One of the main talking points heading into November 15 will be how effectively Makhachev can adapt to the new division, especially considering that this will be his first appearance at 170 pounds inside the octagon. According to members of his team, the transition has been handled with impressive discipline and preparation. His teammates have noted significant improvements in his conditioning and overall size, hinting that this might not be a temporary experiment, but a long-term shift. Reports suggest that Makhachev has been working extensively on his strength and endurance to ensure he can compete against naturally larger opponents while maintaining his trademark speed and grappling control. His longtime coach, Javier Mendez, recently offered an encouraging update regarding his progress. Mendez revealed that Makhachev's weight has climbed to approximately 191 pounds during training camp, a number that highlights how seriously the former lightweight king has taken this move. The added mass, according to Mendez, has not affected Makhachev's agility or cardio, both of which remain key components of his championship-level performances. Despite the challenges of adding weight while preserving his elite skill set, it appears Makhachev is intent on establishing himself as a dominant force in a second division. His decision to vacate the lightweight title reinforces the belief that this is not just a temporary venture, but a strategic career move aimed at legacy building. Still, speculation continues over whether Makhachev might eventually return to 155 pounds for a super fight, particularly a potential blockbuster bout with current featherweight and lightweight contender Ilia Topuria. For now, however, Makhachev's focus is fixed on one goal: capturing the welterweight crown and proving that his dominance extends beyond a single weight class.